Maya Chen's blood was still warm on the concrete when Kristen Davies kicked her one last time. "Should have kept your mouth shut about the scholarship," Kristen snarled. The 19-year-old lay motionless behind the university library, her head cracked against the brick wall, ribs shattered from the beating. 3 girls stood over her crumpled body, their breath forming clouds in the January air. "Is she breathing?" Ashley's voice wavered. Kristen checked Maya's pulse, weak, but there. She smiled. "Let's go. No one saw us. By the time someone finds her, we'll have alibis." They climbed into Kristen's Mercedes and drove away, taillights disappearing into the Boston darkness. Maya's phone lay shattered 5 feet from her outstretched hand, temperature dropping to 28 degrees. But Kristen Davies didn't know one thing. Someone had been watching. Leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments, along with the city you're watching from. Let's continue. 11:47 p.m. Maya's eyes fluttered, open to a sky full of stars she couldn't focus on. Pain came in waves, her right side screamed with each shallow breath. Broken ribs, definitely. Maybe punctured lung. She tried to move her left arm. Nothing. Tried her legs. Her body refused to obey. The cold was worse than the pain. She'd grown up in Boston winters, knew hypothermia, knew the stages, knew what came next. Her fingers were already numb. That was stage 1. She forced herself to think clearly. Her phone. Where was her phone? There, 5 feet away, screen shattered into a spiderweb, completely dark. 5 feet she couldn't cross. The library closed at midnight. Security made one final sweep, then locked up. No one would come back until 6 a.m. Maya had been heading to her dorm when Kristen and her friends cornered her. The beating lasted maybe 3 minutes. Felt like hours. Campus was deserted at this hour. Too cold for anyone to be walking. She tried to call out, "Help!" Her voice came out as a whisper, lost in the wind. "Someone, please." Nothing. Just the vast indifference of the night. She tried to calculate. Core temperature normally 98.6 degrees. She could feel herself shivering now. Violent tremors she couldn't control. That meant she'd already dropped to around 95 degrees. Stage 2 hypothermia began at 93. Stage 3, the deadly stage, started at 90. She was wearing just jeans and a thin jacket. The concrete beneath her was stealing heat even faster. 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours. After that, her heart would simply stop. Maya tried to pull herself toward the path. Her arms shook with effort. She managed 6 inches before the pain made her gasp and stop. Blood trickled from her hairline, warm against the cold air. Every movement made it worse. The broken rib was shifting, pressing deeper. If it punctured her lung completely, she'd drown in her own blood. She had to stay still, had to conserve energy. But staying still meant freezing faster. Maya thought about her parents. The car. Accident 5 years ago had left her an orphan at 14. Her aunt had raised her until she left for college last year. Now Maya lived in the dorms, working 2 jobs to pay tuition. No one would miss her until her shift tomorrow at 3 p.m. By then she'd be 12 hours dead. "I'm going to die here," she whispered to the stars. Alone. The cold was making her drowsy. That was bad. That meant her body was shutting down, redirecting blood from her extremities to protect vital organs. Once she fell asleep, she wouldn't wake up. Stay awake, stay awake, stay awake. Maya bit her lip hard enough to taste blood. The pain helped, but only for a moment. Then she heard it. Footsteps. Heavy, deliberate footsteps approaching through the darkness. Not running, walking, with purpose. Maya's remaining hope flickered. Maybe security had come back. Maybe someone heard her. But the footsteps were too measured, too controlled. And there was something else. An energy in the air that made her skin prickle, despite the cold. A figure emerged from the shadows. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing an expensive black coat that didn't belong on a college campus at midnight. The man stopped 10 feet away, and even through her fading vision, Maya could see his face. Dominic Ashford, the CEO everyone whispered about. The mysterious businessman who'd donated $50 million to the university last year. The man students called the King because of the way he commanded every room he entered. And he was staring at her with eyes that held something dark and dangerous. "Help," Maya managed to whisper. "Please." Dominic didn't move. He just stood there, his expression unreadable, watching her bleed out on the frozen concrete. Then he pulled out his phone and made a call. "Marcus, the Omega is down behind Sterling Library. 3 assailants, female, fled in a silver Mercedes, license plate BRH 2847. I want them detained within the hour." He listened to the response, his eyes never leaving Maya. "I don't care what it costs. Find them." He ended the call and finally moved, kneeling beside her with a grace that seemed impossible for someone his size. Up close, she could see he was maybe 35, with dark hair and features that belonged on magazine covers. "Maya Chen," he said quietly. 19 years old, orphan, full scholarship student, works 2 jobs. Reported Kristen Davies for academic fraud 3 days ago. Maya's eyes widened. How did he know all that? "You're wondering why I know so much about you." Dominic pulled off his coat and laid it over her trembling body. The warmth was immediate, overwhelming. The answer is simple. "I've been watching you for 3 months." Fear cut through the hypothermia fog. "Watching me? Your scholarship application essay was extraordinary. Why the weakest deserve protection. You argued that a society's strength isn't measured by its powerful, but by how it treats those with no power at all." His voice was soft but intense. "I've built an empire, on strength and dominance, but you, Maya Chen, you made me question everything." He checked her pulse, his fingers gentle on her freezing wrist. "Your heart rate is 42, core temperature approximately 91 degrees. You have 30 minutes, maybe less." "Then call 911, Maya gasped. "I did. They're 7 minutes out." He looked at the shattered phone. "But that's not what I'm concerned about." "What?" "Whether I let them take you to the hospital, or whether I claim you right here, right now, and ensure no one ever hurts you again." Maya stared at him through the haze of pain and cold. "You're insane." "Perhaps." Dominic's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "But I'm also the only reason you're still alive. I've had a security detail following you since Kristen threatened you last week. When they reported the attack, I was 10 minutes away. I could have intervened immediately." "But you didn't," Maya whispered, horror dawning. "No, I wanted to see what she'd do. I wanted evidence that would destroy her completely." His eyes hardened. "And I wanted you to understand how dangerous this world is for someone like you. Someone who thinks truth and justice matter more than power." Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. "The ambulance is coming," Dominic said, standing. "They'll take you to Mass General. Private room, top floor. I've already made the arrangements. When you wake up, you'll have a choice to make." "What choice?" "Whether to accept my protection, or to go back to your life pretending tonight didn't happen." He looked down at her, and for a moment something raw and almost vulnerable crossed his face. "But I should warn you, Maya Chen. I don't offer my protection lightly, and once you accept it, you become mine." "I'm not a possession," Maya managed through chattering teeth. "No, you're something far more dangerous." Dominic pulled his coat tighter around her as the ambulance pulled up, lights flooding the alley. "You're the one person who makes me want to be more than the monster everyone fears." The paramedics rushed over with a stretcher. Dominic stepped back into the shadows. "Wait," Maya called out. "Why? Why do you care?" His answer came from the darkness, quiet but absolute. "Because 3 months ago I watched you give your lunch to a homeless woman, even though it meant you'd go hungry. Because you reported academic fraud knowing it would make you a target. Because every time someone tries to break you, you get back up. He paused. The world needs people like you, Maya. Even if it tries to destroy them. Especially then. Then he was gone, melting into the night as if he'd never been there. 11:55 p.m. Maya woke in a hospital room that looked more like a luxury hotel suite. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Boston Harbor. The pain in her ribs was muted, powerful medication working through her system. A nurse appeared immediately. "Miss Chen, you're awake. How do you feel?" "Like I was hit by a truck." Maya tried to sit up. "What happened?" "You were brought in with severe hypothermia and multiple traumatic injuries. You're lucky to be alive." The nurse adjusted her IV. "You have a visitor if you're up for it. He's been here all night." "Who?" The door opened before the nurse could answer. Dominic Ashford entered, now wearing a sharp suit that probably cost more than Maya's entire education. He looked like he belonged in boardrooms, not hospital rooms. But his eyes, those dark eyes, were locked on her with an intensity that made her heart rate spike on the monitor. "Leave us," he told the nurse quietly. She obeyed instantly. When they were alone, Dominic pulled a chair beside the bed and sat. 3 broken ribs, hairline skull fracture, severe bruising. You'll make a full recovery, but it'll take time. Kristen is currently in custody. She and her friends were arrested at 2 a.m. trying to board a flight to Miami. My security team provided the police with video evidence of the assault." He leaned forward. "They'll each serve 5 to 7 years for aggravated assault." Maya's breath caught. "Video evidence? You recorded it?" "My team did, from 4 different angles. High definition. Audio included." His expression didn't change. Kristen Davies' father tried to make it disappear. He's a federal judge with significant influence. It didn't work, because I have more influence. "You let them beat me unconscious so you could get evidence on camera," Maya said slowly. "You could have stopped it after the first hit." "Yes, that's sociopathic." "Yes," Dominic agreed calmly. "I am many terrible things, Maya. But I'm honest about what I am. Can you say the same about the people who smiled at you while planning to destroy you?" Maya wanted to be angry, wanted to call him a monster. But she'd seen Kristen's smile the day before the attack, sweet and innocent, while plotting violence. "What do you want from me?" she asked quietly. Dominic stood and walked to the window, his back to her. "I built Ashford Industries from nothing. 15 years of ruthless decisions. I've crushed competitors, ended careers, done things that would horrify you." He turned. "But I've never found anyone who made me want to build instead of destroy. Until you. I don't understand. 3 months ago, I was at a university donor dinner, bored, cynical, wondering why I was wasting time on entitled students who'd never struggle a day in their lives." His eyes met hers. "Then you stood up and gave a speech about your scholarship, about growing up poor, about your parents dying and leaving you with nothing, about how you were only there because someone decided to invest in the powerless." He moved closer to the bed. "You looked at a room full of millionaires and told them that their money meant nothing if they used it to maintain systems of inequality. That true power wasn't domination, it was elevation. That the strong existed to protect the weak, not exploit them." "I remember," Maya whispered. "Everyone looked at me like I was insane." "Because you challenged everything they believed." Dominic's voice dropped. "But I couldn't stop thinking about what you said. For 15 years, I've used my strength to take. You made me wonder what would happen if I used it to give. So you've been stalking me for 3 months? Protecting you. There's a difference. Is there? I had a security detail on you. When Kristen threatened you after you reported her, I had my lawyers begin building a case. When I learned she'd planned this attack, I positioned my team to intervene if necessary. But you let her attack me anyway," Maya said, anger flaring despite the medication. "You let me get beaten unconscious, left in the cold to die, just so you could play savior with your dramatic evidence. Yes. No apology, no justification, just brutal honesty. Maya stared at him. You're dangerous. Extremely. I should be terrified of you. You should. But you saved my life. After allowing it to be endangered in the first place. Dominic sat on the edge of her bed, close enough that she could see flecks of gold in his dark eyes. I won't pretend to be a good man, Maya. I'm not. I'm ruthless, calculating, and I manipulate situations to serve my purposes. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he brushed a strand of hair from her face. But I've never felt protective of anyone before. I've never wanted to destroy someone the way I want to destroy everyone who's ever hurt you. And I've never met anyone who made me want to be better than the monster I am. Maya's heart hammered. What are you saying? I'm saying that I'm claiming you, Maya Chen. Not as property. As someone under my protection. Someone I will ensure never suffers again. His voice dropped to something dark and possessive. And I'm giving you one chance to refuse before I make it official. Official how? I'll transfer you to a private university where no one will dare touch you. I'll pay your tuition, your housing, everything. I'll give you a job at my company when you graduate, and anyone who threatens you will face consequences that will destroy their lives. In exchange for what? Your presence, your mind, your challenge. Dominic's thumb traced her cheekbone. I don't want you to work for me, Maya. I want you beside me, teaching me to use power differently, showing me what protection really means. That sounds like obsession, Maya whispered. It is. Absolutely. No shame in his admission. I've built an empire by being obsessed with winning. Now I'm obsessed with you. The difference is you get to choose whether to accept it. Maya should say no. Every rational part of her brain screamed danger. This man was possessive, manipulative, had watched her get beaten to serve his purposes. But he'd also ensured her attackers would face justice, had given her the best medical care money could buy, and was looking at her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. If I say no, she asked, I'll respect it. You'll get the best medical care. Your scholarship will be honored. I'll disappear from your life. His jaw tightened. But the protection goes with me. You'll be on your own again. That's manipulation. Yes, I told you I'm honest about what I am. Maya closed her eyes. 3 months ago, she'd written in her essay that the strong should protect the weak. That true power was using strength to elevate, not dominate. Dominic Ashford was offering exactly that, in the most twisted, possessive way possible. One condition, she said quietly. Name it. If I accept this, I'm not some protected pet. I challenge you. I call you out when you're wrong. I don't become another possession in your empire. Agreed. And you don't let anyone get hurt to prove a point ever again. If someone's in danger, you protect them immediately. No games. Dominic's eyes darkened. That's harder to promise. Sometimes the only way to destroy your enemies completely is to let them incriminate themselves. Then we're done here. Maya started to pull away. He caught her hand, his grip firm but not painful. Wait, I'll promise. No more games with your safety. But only yours. I can't extend that to everyone. Why not? Because the world is full of predators, Maya, and sometimes the only way to stop them is to be a bigger predator. She wanted to argue, wanted to insist there was always a better way. But she'd just been beaten unconscious by girls she'd tried to help through proper channels. Sometimes the system failed. Sometimes you needed someone willing to work outside it. Fine, she whispered. I accept. Dominic's entire body seemed to relax, though his grip on her hand remained possessive. You won't regret this. I already do, Maya said. But she was smiling, just a little. 2 weeks later, Maya sat in Dominic's office, reviewing her transfer papers to Blackwood Academy, the most prestigious private university on the East Coast. "This is insane," she muttered. "I can't afford. It's handled." Dominic didn't look up from his laptop. "Full scholarship, room and board, living expenses. You'll have a private dorm, security detail." "I don't need a security detail." "You do. Kristen Davies' father has connections. He's furious about the charges." "So let him be furious." Dominic finally looked up, his expression hard. "Maya, a federal judge's daughter, was arrested because of evidence I provided. That makes enemies, powerful enemies. Until this is resolved, you're protected. This is exactly what I was afraid of. You being controlling. I'm being practical." He stood and crossed to her, pulling her to her feet. "You challenged me to be better. I'm trying. But I won't apologize for ensuring you're safe." Maya met his eyes. "I didn't accept your protection so I could live in a cage." "Then don't. Go to your classes. Make friends. Live your life." His hands cupped her face. "But let me protect you while you do. The world is dangerous, Maya. Especially for people who refuse to play by its rules." She wanted to argue, but she'd learned something in the past 2 weeks. Dominic Ashford kept his promises. Kristen and her friends were facing serious charges. The video evidence was airtight, and Maya had received apologies from every administrator who'd dismissed her fraud complaint. "Fine," she said, "but I'm not living in fear." "Good." Dominic smiled, and it transformed his entire face from intimidating to devastating. "Fear doesn't suit you. Defiance does." He kissed her forehead, a gesture that was both protective and possessive. "Welcome to Blackwood Academy, Maya Chen. Try not to start any revolutions in your first semester." "No promises," she shot back. 6 months later, Maya stood at the annual Blackwood Donor Gala, wearing a dress Dominic had insisted on buying. She'd argued, but he'd simply said, "Let me do this," in that voice that was half command, half plea. So she'd let him. Now she stood beside him as he was honored for his latest donation, $100 million towards scholarships for underprivileged students. "This is because of her," Dominic said into the microphone, his hand finding Maya's. 6 months ago, someone challenged me to use my power differently. To build instead of destroy. To protect instead of dominate. He turned to her, and the entire room faded away. "I'm not a good man, but I'm trying to be better, because someone believed I could be." The room erupted in applause. Later, as they danced, Maya whispered, "You didn't have to give me credit." "Yes, I did." Dominic pulled her closer. "You changed everything, Maya. The least I can do is be honest about it. You're still obsessed with me. Completely. And possessive. Absolutely. And occasionally terrifying. Without question." He smiled. "But I keep my promises. No one has touched you in 6 months." "No," Maya agreed. "They haven't. Because the king had claimed her. And everyone knew you didn't touch what belonged to Dominic Ashford." But Maya didn't feel like a possession. She felt like a partner. Someone who challenged him, educated him, reminded him that power meant nothing without purpose. "I have something to tell you," Dominic said quietly. "What?" "Kristen Davies' father tried to have the charges reduced, called in every favor he had." Maya's stomach dropped. "And? I destroyed him. His corruption was extensive. Once I started digging, I found everything. He's been disbarred. Kristen's trust fund has been frozen. Her sentence was extended to 12 years. Maya pulled back slightly. "Dominic." "He came after you," Dominic said, his voice dark. "Through legal channels, through intimidation, through everything he had. He tried to hurt you again." His hands tightened on her waist. "So I eliminated the threat. Permanently." Maya should be horrified. Should call him a monster. But she'd seen Kristen's father on the news, smug and confident that his daughter would walk free despite video evidence. Sometimes the system needed a predator to keep it honest. "Thank you," she whispered. "Always." Dominic rested his forehead against hers. "I told you. You're mine to protect now, and I keep what's mine safe. I'm not yours. Yes, you are. He smiled. Just like I'm yours. You claimed me that night, Maya Chen, whether you meant to or not. And looking into his eyes, dark, possessive, but also vulnerable in a way only she ever saw, Maya realized he was right. She'd claimed a king, and he'd claimed her back. Some bonds were forged in violence and ice. Some protection came from dangerous places. But sometimes the monster was exactly what you needed to survive in a world full of predators. Maya kissed him then, in front of 500 people, claiming him as publicly as he'd claimed her. The king and his Omega. Not property and owner. Partners in a world that tried to break them both. The end. Have you ever had someone protect you when everyone else abandoned you? Have you ever been dismissed for speaking the truth? Drop a comment with your story. Let's continue this conversation.